Kristen Gilbert, and I work for Options for Sexual Health, and I'm a certified sexual health educator. Options for Sexual Health is to deliver comprehensive, up-to-date information through our clinics and our education services. Our hope is that all British Columbians will have healthy sexuality throughout their lifespan. So when people come into the clinic, let's say someone's pregnant and they're not sure what they want to do, we'll talk to them about parenting, we'll talk to them about adoption services and what that looks like, and we'll talk to them about abortion services and accessing that. And then it's up to that person to make the decision based on all of that information and what works for their lives. I also think it's important to say that young people are sexually active. Teens are sexually active, and they always have been. That's not something new. And it's funny because as people get older, they start talking about, kids these days, what a disaster kids are these days. It's normal for teens to explore their sexuality. It's always been normal, and we want to support healthy decision-making and choices that are full of knowledge. So if you know how your body works, if you know how to avoid pregnancy if you want to, if you know how to avoid sexually transmitted infections, then the exploration is healthier and safer, and we just don't want to associate shame with sex at any point in life.
When I went in to go get a test, I was with my friend. She was getting a test to see if she was pregnant. She found out she was negative, and I found out I was positive. And I started bawling my eyes out because it was just such a surprise, and I was not expecting it, and I was shocked, and so it was devastating.
I tell the father, he was actually living with me at the time, and he wanted me to keep it, but I didn't want it, and he was never around enough to even make me want to keep it. I knew the relationship wasn't even going to last, so.
I told him the next day, so how would you feel if I was pregnant? And he says, well, if you were, I'd be kind of shocked. I was too scared to tell my mom right away. And my grandpa was very disappointed in me. He thought I had better things planned. And my grandma, of course, was disappointed, but she's kind of happy because there's a baby coming. And then my mom found out from someone else instead of me, which hurt a lot. And she was very upset with me. And she tried to encourage me to have an abortion. And I just couldn't do it.
Young Parent Program is a program that's a combination of a partnership between the agency that I work for, which is Family Services of Greater Vancouver, and the Richmond School District. So it's a high school completion program for teens, for youth who are pregnant or parenting. Being a young parent is a real struggle, and so as someone who works with young parents, I think the biggest challenge is just seeing how hard life can be.
Some of the struggles I have to face is money. Definitely financial support I don't have for myself. I have to find a job after I'm ready to put her in babysitting care. So that would be the hardest part, is getting money. I have to pay rent here and pay for cable and hydro. So pretty much I'm choosing to move out because it's harder here.
We have had students that have decided to give their children up for adoption, and they have stayed in our program while they went through that process. We have had young parents that decide, most of our young parents decide that they're going to parent. We also support the choice if someone wants to terminate their pregnancy. It really has to be up to that young person, where they're at in their life and whether they can handle, what they can handle and what they're ready to do.
I was not ready to have kids. I never thought of having kids. And I never wanted kids in the future. It wasn't part of my life. I wanted to go traveling. I wanted to do things that if you had kids, you couldn't do. When I did get pregnant, it was very hard. It was very emotional. You have this little being inside of you, and you don't want to kill it, but you know, at the age of 17, you're not finished school. You don't have a life, you don't have a career, you don't have money. How are you going to give that child the life that you want it to have?
For parents, I think a lot of it also has to do with parents and of teenagers getting support if there are breakdowns between that relationship, between a parent and their teenager, that they're accessing some counseling, that counseling is available, so because I think your teenage years, there's for some parents it feels like a time when their teenagers just don't want anything to do with them and they need to have their own separate life, but it's actually a time when you really need your parents. You really need that support and that guidance. I think that helping parents understand that it's very important to talk to your kids about sex. It's also very important to talk to your kids about healthy relationships. Sexual health in high schools and younger, actually, sexual health starting by grade 6 and 7, being able to talk about it is really important.
My mom was 19 when she had me. She got pregnant with me when she was 18. And she said it was life-altering, definitely.
How to keep the sperm and the egg from meeting. So those are methods of birth control. So we'll talk to them about some of the effective ways of keeping the sperm and egg apart. So there's methods like hormonal methods of birth control that can do that, like the pill, or there's a patch called the Evra patch, or the Nuva ring, or there's an injection called Depo-Provera. Those are very, very effective methods of keeping the sperm and the egg apart. Or we'll also talk about things like condom use and how to make condoms work better and feel better so that people will use them. This is an IUD, and that's short for intrauterine device, and it's a method of birth control. And it's a method that doctors in regular doctors' clinics probably wouldn't mention as an effective method of birth control for young women, which is a shame because it's highly effective.
I do believe that now that I got pregnant so easy that I don't want to use just condoms, that in order to have sex I will go on to birth control before I do it.
My life has changed a lot. She's become my #1 priority. And I don't get to go out and do all the things I used to. Me and my friends have totally fallen apart because it's like you're trapped, kind of, because you can't really go out and do whatever you want whenever you want. But I guess with her, I take her out and meet people, and so it's kind of like a bit of the freedom. But independence, I definitely don't have my independence anymore because before I was always alone and doing whatever I wanted, and now I have her, and so I'm not always alone.
After having the abortion, I was very, very depressed. I didn't talk to anyone for about 2 months. I didn't go to school. I didn't think I was gonna get like this, sorry. Sometimes I still think about it, but it was the best thing. I'm very cautious now. I don't do sexual intercourse without protection. I will not, and if I don't have it, I will not do it. My advice is, don't ever listen to some guy trying to tell you not to use protection, because he's wrong. It's not gonna work like that. You will get pregnant, and you will suffer great challenges whether you keep it or you don't.